This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Kicking off hour 2 here on Money Moves, VSiN, the sports betting network, Sirius XM, channel 158. He's Jonathan Von Tobel. I'm Stormy Bonantoni. We're live in downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. End of this hour. Mitchell R. Moss, Mitch Moss, Follow the Money, going to join us at the end of the show, getting a little head start for before he and Paulie Howard get it going for Follow the Money today. You guys have a little friendly wager on this Knicks Cavs series, is that correct?
We have to finalize it.
Okay. Is this how that's going to happen?
Yeah, that's why he's coming in.
I didn't know.
Yeah, it's like the whole point.
I didn't know that. You just wrote Mitchell R. Moss in the rundown.
I also texted our group chat and said, hey, we're going to have Mitch in the final segment.
You said we're going to play this clip.
I'm going to call my friend out here. Sometimes he listens on the way in. Everything's so dramatic with Mitch. I texted him, like, hey, can you come in for the final segment? He's like, busy morning. I think I'm going to be able to make it. I don't know. Just kind of count me in. I'm like, just say yes, okay? It's 10 minutes early. Just say yes, okay? It's all we need. He's going to be in.
And Mitch is usually here.
Right.
During that. You're here. I appreciate you coming in, though. Thank you for doing this, my good buddy.
I got a buddy. It's not Mitch, but I got a buddy who's like that, too. Everything is pulling teeth. It's like, hey.
Is it me?
Can you? No. Okay. You're not my buddy. Can you? That's too easy.
I have no comeback for
Can you want to hang out? You want to do this? Like, yeah, I think, but I've got like this thing and that thing. And then they show up on time anyway, every time, 100% of the time. And you're just like, dude, like, we don't. Just say yes. Just say yes.
I do want to follow this up with letting the world know I did receive a text from JVT yesterday that said, dare I say it, we might be becoming friends. So
it's ridiculous. Do not say that.
It's factual. We got a couple tweets, though, I want to get to here real quickly. Montreal Max tweeted me and said they were stunned that I had a delayed reaction when Kelly Bidlin said go Lanch, and said, fun fact, 25 years ago on the offshore forum websites, he had a handle, Lanch Cup, after the Avalanche won the cup in 2001. So there you go. But yeah, go Lanch. That's not something that I had ever heard before, and it really did catch me off guard. I was proud of us that we put it together so close to break.
Yeah, I didn't understand it at all. From Reddit, the Colorado Avalanche Reddit, I just heard an ESPNer call the Avs the Lanch.
No.
What the F?
No.
I don't think anybody calls them the Lanch.
Also, for game 1 tonight, we have seen that price start to swing a little bit more toward Vegas. And granted, Colorado's still a massive favorite in this one, but they were around like minus 192-ish, now down to around minus 180. The news, of course, today, Cale Makar unavailable for the game. And some positive news, albeit not for tonight, it appears, but Mark Stone back on the ice for Vegas as well, skated with some of the healthy scratches today.
Is there a point where you think the price is adjusted too much? I mean, Circa had gotten up to as high as minus 185 before making a near 20-cent dip to the minus 168 they're hanging up right now.
Oh, and I see. Yeah, like this just continues to go down. I would say anything sub 170 is probably a buy
Play
point.
on Colorado?
Yeah. Again, I don't have a bet on game 1 today. The goal total is 6.5, which doesn't surprise me, especially considering how much offense we saw from Colorado against Minnesota, albeit Vegas, a very different defensive team, but without Mark Stone. How does that change the dynamic against a team like this? Also, another tweet from Jim at James Sott, chiming in, oh my gosh, as a Cleveland fan, last night was awful. I didn't think Kenny was a good coach before this, but after last night, I know he's a bad coach.
You're right.
I struggle reading.
You made it through. Kenny Atkinson had a terrible day yesterday. Cost him the game. Him and James Harden. I still think they win the series.
You're sticking to your guns again.
Of course. Why would I?
I'm excited for this conversation with Mitch a little bit later.
Because I'll say this too. We can say this all the time because I think I don't know if I brought this up yesterday, but it's worth reiterating one more time because we were talking about bouncing back from losses and whatnot. I mean, you can do this all the time. We saw the Cavs do it themselves, right? You saw the Cavaliers bounce back from getting absolutely smoked. That was actually this morning. Holy smokes. Dave Ross was on with Dave and Jensen, and Dave asked me, like, hey, like, do you think this is the backbreaker mentally? Are they cooked? And my response was, well, look, after game 6, they're up 3-2 going back home. They get mollywopped by the Detroit Pistons, and everybody's thinking, well, it's over. Now you got to go back to Detroit, and you're going to win a game. You've been awful on the road. This thing's done. Mentally, you got to be shot. What'd they do in Game 7? They absolutely destroyed Detroit, and they rolled on. So I don't think that this is one where you're shot. It sucks. It was historic. It was monumental. But I also think it's almost so bad that you can kind of flush it relatively easy
that's true.
And really point to all of the obvious mistakes and errors you made and see if you just, hey, let's just not do those things and let's adjust to the other things that bothered us, and we'll see if we can get it done. So, again, you lose a game, you don't like it, you go down 2-0 on the road, you get 2 games going back home, and they handled that situation. So we'll see with game 2.
Because you mentioned it being historic, if you want to go back, so after the show each and every day here on Money Moves, each hour is then posted in our podcast feed, so you can download it wherever you get your podcast. But JVT runs through bullet by bullet of just how historic that collapse was last night. It is worth a listen and could help you at least formulate a little bit of how last night transpired looking ahead to the next game coming up tomorrow. We got plenty of NFL news to get to here as well. Your favorite topic of all time, Jonathan, Aaron Rodgers. It appears this is going to be his final year. He was asked today if this is going to be the last year. His response was, yes, this is it.
Cool. Okay.
And we can move on from there. We also actually got some really cool news. Last night on Follow the Money with Mitch and Paul, Derek Stevens, owner and CEO here of Circa, as well as Mike Palm, who, of course, we have on the program every Friday, VP of Operations here, made the official announcement of what the guarantee is. The commercial is out. I may or may not have known what the guarantee was. Take a look.
Well, we had the new schedule, so we talked about this for quite a while. It's pretty strong consensus. We're gonna go with a five game Thanksgiving week. The consensus is he didn't want to do it.
It's a one-vote company. So much as all the speeches he gives about it, he leads by consensus. I mean, at the end of the day, there's one. It was all about the Friday game, Paul.
Okay, Denver-Pittsburgh.
Denver-Pittsburgh.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you put it with 12A and make it a 5-game holiday week, or do you move it? 12B is no joke. I mean, it's a pretty tough schedule. Or do you leave it with 12B and then make, because you have the Christmas Eve game, that's a obvious 4-game week. Then they would both be 4-game weeks. But there was one person that felt very strongly that the Black Friday game should go along with the other Thanksgiving games.
I think 12B then becomes what you got to. This whole thing about what happened on Thanksgiving now, these are premier games. You've got some premier games. I think what's happening now on the Sunday of Thanksgiving, you got to think about who you're going to save. I think all of a sudden the Bengals stand right up, right before you. They're the only big favorite on 12B.
Like, here's the deal with the holiday weeks at Circa. Goodell does not screw around with the standalone games or the holiday schedule. All these games are going to be like a pick'em.
Well, that's what we said last year. And the Eagles were a 7-point favorite over the Bears, and the Ravens were, a 9-point favorite? And by the way, they both lost. So if you played the contest correctly, you were out.
So we got a little lost in the sauce there. We didn't play you.
That wasn't you.
That was not me. The guarantee, you're going to play the commercial, but it's okay. The guarantee itself is $30 million in all for all of the Circa contests, $20 million specifically for Survivor. And what they were talking about there, which I find very interesting, was the Thanksgiving week, because we had a lot of questions about this. I think it was Mike Palm who first, at some point early last week, brought up the idea of them potentially changing the Thanksgiving week because of how many games there were and how difficult it is. But hearing Derek have the final say and say, no, we're going to keep these games together. So the Wednesday Thanksgiving Eve game, Green Bay at LA Rams, Thursday's slate, the triple header, Chicago at Detroit, Philly at Dallas, Kansas City at Buffalo, and then the Black Friday game, Denver at Pittsburgh. You heard Derek there say the one that stands out to you is the saver, at least for 12B, being that Sunday slate of games, is the Cincinnati Bengals. They're hosting the New Orleans Saints that day. So that on the surface seems like, okay, is this the one we want to save? But then as you hear Mike go on to say, it's like, but what do you do? Because maybe that's what you expect on the surface now as you're kind of trying to make your plan for what the whole Survivor slate is going to look like. But what we think now might not be what that team is come November.
Right. That's like the whole point is, you can, the best laid plans of mice and men often go awry, right? And this is where you're at, where you're planning 3 months down the road. You have no idea what those teams are going to look like, who's going to be injured. I don't know if you know this, quarterbacks get injured quite frequently.
No.
And by the way, the funny thing about that, the irony of it all is that the Survivor killer from a couple years ago might be your best option to save for 12B Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And they're taking on a Saints team that I think many people think they might actually be somewhat improved this next year or this coming season. So the whole dynamic's interesting. It makes it very difficult. You're talking about grouping these 3 days together from Wednesday to Friday and then having to move on from there. I think Mitch's point is pretty good, though, in the sense of there is not one runaway team that you're looking at, because Green Bay at the Packers at the Rams, Bears at the Lions, Eagles at the Cowboys, and then Chiefs at the Bills, as well as Broncos at Steelers. That might be a sneaky one for you if the Broncos are much improved on defense from the way they ended the year, and Bo Nix hits the ground running is really good, and I'm wrong about him, for example. Maybe you can play him on the road against Pittsburgh. Who knows? Because I don't know if you know this. I don't really like Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers that much. But either way, it does make for an interesting 3 days and what you're going to do there, because those all figure to be very tightly contested games as well.
I think, especially as we get closer to the start of the season and we really delve into contest strategy and different things, because obviously we're talking about this from the framework specifically of Circa Survivor, but there are so many different Survivor contests and pools and different things that anyone can do across the country. But for this specifically, like the blueprint you try to make for yourself, it's not that simple. And on the surface, it seems like, all I have to do is win one game every week. Who can't do that? No one. It's very, very difficult.
We're going to have a show entry again?
Yes, of course.
We're going to have 2?
We're going to have 2.
Okay,
we're
let's do 2? Okay.
We're going to scream at each other every week. Okay. You're going to be I'm going to say, what do you think about this? And you're going to say, make a decision. And then I'm going to...
We were fatefully knocked out by the Rams that Thursday night against your 49ers.
Which just brutal, brutal, brutal. As I go against my team.
I was sitting on the sidelines of my son's Little League game. I couldn't curse. I couldn't do anything. I was watching on my phone.
Never in my life have I been in a situation where I'm actively rooting against my team. And then I'm trying not to be bitter.
My 7-year-old could have hit a grand slam that night, and I would have had no clue because I was just sitting there watching on my phone.
One of the most vomit-inducing losses of all time. And by the way, as we talk about all of these wonderful contests, the contest officially open. I believe signups begin on Friday. And with that, Winner's Circle Proxy can help you out, especially if you're not here locally. You are required in person to register, but Winner's Circle Proxy will handle everything after that. You can schedule your appointment now at winnercircleproxy.com.
Hey, let me get your attention real quick, podcast listeners. I've got something for you that feels too good to be true. First, credit where credit is due. If you're listening to this podcast, you're already leveling up your betting game. You're riding along with our best bets and top angles. And when there's a good game on, you're probably getting involved with a few props and alt markets as well. But there's one more layer if you really want to step things up, and that's VSiN Pro. Yeah, I've mentioned it before, but things are only getting better for our pro subscribers. We just rolled out our MLB prop projections, breaking down some of the best edges across strikeouts, hits, home runs, and more. And that's on top of everything else pro subscribers already get, including public betting splits, expert picks, and betting guides across the sports calendar. If you haven't tried it yet, stop sleeping on it. You can get your first month for just $9.99 or save big with promo code POD26 on an annual subscription. Hit the link in the description and start cashing in with VSiN Pro. All right, now back to the show.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Big day on the ice and on the hardwood as we welcome you back here to Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Western Conference Final Game 2 between the Spurs and Thunder. Game 1 in the NHL as well between the Vegas Golden Knights and Colorado Avalanche. Let's stick with the NBA here off the top, though, JVT, because while we previewed the game, we talked about some of the keys, what will be important on each side here, whether or not OKC can bounce back at home after the Game 1 upset. There's also like so much more that you can bet in these series than just spread and total, which, by the way, OKC out to 7.5 here for Game 2, total to 17.5. But there are different points leader that not only like can you do pre-series, but it updates throughout with different betting odds, threes leader. We talked about Eastern and Western Conference MVP awards and different things like that. So let's look into some of these markets. Anything in particular that caught your attention?
I think you can make a really strong case that Victor Wembanyama at minus 120 to lead the series in scoring is really cheap. So he had 41 points in the first game. He is your leader so far in this series. The second choice right now, or at least in terms of odds, is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at even money, but he's also third in terms of overall points with 24. Jalen Williams is at 26 at 40-1, so he's got the third most points of the series. Stephon Castle, 17 points, 90-1. Not listed because the market doesn't believe that he'll be able to continue this. Is actually the second leader in points is Alex Caruso, who had a monster game in Game 1 from a scoring standpoint. We'll get to him in a moment when it comes to the threes leader. But I would think that Wembanyama, with 41 points, the size advantage that he has, kind of projecting how the Thunder are going to try to play this series moving forward, I don't think that there's a reality that you're going to go double big. and try to outsize them, because I think that's going to really screw up your spacing and your offense overall. So I think they steer into the small ball even more. So what does that mean? Well, it means more guards like Caruso and Dort guarding Victor Wembanyama on a big amount of possessions. You've already got the lead in this category as well by quite a bit. And we'll call it 15 points over the most realistic candidate other than you to win this title, which would be Jalen Williams, and Shai's behind him. I think you can make the argument that minus 120 is kind of cheap for him to lead the series in scoring.
Well, and not only the size advantage he has inside, but the fact that he's so capable to score inside out and from anywhere. I don't blame you for that thought process. What you bring up about Caruso is pretty funny, though, because 31 points in game one. Look at his previous series: 9, 6, 5.
One would assume that he's not going to keep that up. But to your point, too, about the scoring and the dual ability of the way that Wembanyama can play, that to me was the most important aspect of what we saw in that first game. One made three for Victor Wembanyama, and it's one we all remember outside of the Thunder broadcast team who didn't really like it that much.
Was that audio not hysterical?
It's great.
Thank you, Dan Levitard, for bringing that to all of our attention.
That was pretty funny, and I think it was the younger Cody who pointed out the normal blasé nature of which the radio podcast team goes, pulls up for a 30-foot three to tie the game.
It's in.
It was unbelievable. So
Victor Wembanyama, 30-foot three, it's in.
But to build on it, the whole point here being is that he made it a point to play inside. And so if you're going to play these small guys, higher probability shots, bigger opportunities to score, minus 120, I think that's kind of cheap for Wembanyama there.
Okay, you said we'll bring up Caruso when we get to threes later. He's minus 265 to lead this series in three-pointers after he makes 8 of them in game one. Obviously, the bulk of his points do come from three. But is there another name at a plus money price you think is worthwhile? Because you're getting 5-1 or better from that point out.
Yeah, so there's a couple of guys here. So first off, you see this. So you mentioned it, minus 265. The game one, these are the threes leaders. So these are made threes, not points for those who are watching up there. So made three-pointers. Devin Vassell has 3. Julian Champagnie made 3. Shai had 2. Wembanyama, Lou Dort, Stephon Castle all had 1. So one that I thought was somewhat interesting, if we go down to the 4th last choice on the board here below De'Aaron Fox, Chet Holmgren. He made 2. He's at 60-1. And I looked around. I couldn't find any other numbers, at least when I was putting this together. And these are over at DraftKings. We'll see if BetMGM or others update these as we move forward. I haven't checked the BetMGM app for a second. So shop around again, as we always say it. But Holmgren, again, to the point of trying to just project what the game plan is going to be. You've got to open the floor. That means I think you're going to put Holmgren a lot in the corner just because you've got to keep Victor Wembanyama out of the paint. That means shooting opportunities for Holmgren as well. We know he's a pretty decent three-point shooter, and one would expect that Caruso is not going to be able to keep up the pace of three-point makes that he was on after game one. And if this series is a long series, as I and many others expected, just more opportunity over the course of that game plan and then over the course of a series for Holmgren to put up some attempts and potentially lead the series in scoring. If we're also right in that they're going to play single big, go really small, that means Wembanyama is probably not going to take as many threes. He's going to play inside, so there's fewer opportunities for him. I think you can make like a long shot case at 60-1 or better for Holmgren to lead the series in made threes. And that was like the one. I mean, you could look at some of these other guys like Vassell, who's going to be able to knock down some of these. Champagnie as well for San Antonio. I think those are some of the obvious choices at 5 and plus 550. My whole point here, though, is that I think I want to short Caruso a little bit here. He deserves to be favored for a reason. But if this series goes on longer, then that's just more opportunity for him to slip from the standings, if you will.
Okay. Anything for assists leader? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander leading the way with 12 to this point. Despite only having a 1 assist advantage over Stephon Castle, minus 235, which I think still makes sense based on his usage and what he does, and De'Aaron Fox potentially coming into the fold here for San Antonio. But any numbers that stood out?
So Shai is obviously up there. Do we, and this I'm just thinking out loud on this one, do we take a shot on De'Aaron Fox if he's healthy here?
50-1.
I mean, because part of the reason why you had such an inflated assist total for Stephon Castle is, as we talked about, he was running the point for this team. He also had 11 turnovers in the game. So he's not exactly a guy that you want handling the ball. So if Fox is healthy, Castle's opportunities to be a facilitator are going to dwindle. And Fox is going to be your main guy at the point of attack, facilitating, trying to find guys running the offense. So do you take a shot, even though he is in the hole by 12 assists, on De'Aaron Fox at 50-1? It's a little hard. As mentioned, Shai's got 12 in the first game. Part of that was double overtime, obviously. Do you part of the logic here too is, do you see a Spurs team that is just going to say, you know what, we're going to stay home. We're not going to allow these assist opportunities. We're just going to see if Shea on his own can beat us, and thus cut off opportunities for him to rack up assists as the series goes along. And if you're trying to find, we're always looking for these long shots, but I just thought making the case for De'Aaron Fox, a guy that we assume is coming in here in this series with the role that we know he's going to have, potentially making up some ground here and getting this done.
Yeah, tough when you come into a series already minus 12 compared to the leader in it. But that's why you're getting the value and the number and the price that you are at 50-1. Or as you said, shop around, see if there's potentially a better number out there. Do you want to talk through this Western Conference Final MVP ladder?
So I don't remember if we did this last year, but this is something we started in prime time. So between every game, I think it's fun to make an MVP ladder to kind of see where we're at and have an exercise of maybe we should play somebody else to win most valuable player in a series like this, depending on sustainability and whatnot.
You want me to do this for the NHL too?
Sure.
I can do that.
See, there we go.
Match it up.
Would you do Conn Smythe or are there Western and Eastern
I could do
Conference?
Conn Smythe levels.
Okay,
I guess.
all right. I like it. All right, I like it. Your pyramid of pucks, they do like the pyramid of pucks like right before. All right, either way, I think it's pretty easy, right? Victor Wembanyama is your leader.
Called it that.
You're your leader of right now. 41 points, 24 rebounds, 3 blocks, 2 steals. I mean, is there anything else to say? He should be your leader in the clubhouse for MVP. Number 2, Alex Caruso. He's got to be your second choice. I mean, he had 31 points. He made 8 3-pointers. His defensive impact for the Thunder, helping them force a second overtime or just generally getting into this game because of Caruso and the way that he was playing. He's got to be your second choice right now on the board to win MVP. Now, again, this is going to change because the series is going to move along, and you talk about sustainability. I would venture that Alex Caruso is not going to be the most valuable player for the Oklahoma City Thunder should they win this series. But right now, he's got to be your second choice. Dylan Harper, he had 24 points, 11 rebounds. Look at this stat line.
Ridiculous.
6 assists, 7 steals, and 1 turnover for Harper. Third choice on the board for the ladder. And then Jalen Williams, 26 points, 7 rebounds, just ahead of Shea, who had 24 points, 12 assists, 5 steals. The reason why Shea is fifth, did not play well, was not efficient in the game either. So again, you look at this, you compare it with the odds. I know we talked about this, or I talked about this with Will Hill. You take a shot on Caruso to keep this up and win MVP. I mean, maybe. You'd have to have this, I think, if you're going to play Caruso, you have to have a short series in that, like, they need to win the next 4 because the longer this series goes along, the logic is that Shea's going to be better, Jalen Williams is going to be just as good, if not better, and their impact is going to win over voters more than one game over the course of a best of 7 that goes 7 for Alex Caruso. And by the way, we already talked about not trusting voters yesterday. I don't trust voters to evaluate defense at all when it comes to impact in a series. For
Caruso specifically, though, I think it is worth noting, not only did he just visually play out of his mind the other night, but that was a career-high playoff performance for him. It was like his second best career game, regular season or postseason ever. So the likelihood of him keeping that up, probably, like, even if it's, let's say, 70% of that doesn't feel likely to me.
And so I would say really quickly before you get to what you have to get to, you can find about 40-1 on Jalen Williams to win Western Conference Finals MVP. If you like the Thunder to win this series, that's hard to turn that number down. And we have at least seen voters be willing to vote for Robin as they did for Jaylen Brown last year in the postseason.
And obviously we talk about a lot of this stuff on the show, but at vsin.com right now, we have so many different things that can help you bet these series on a daily basis. Zach Cohen covered it all from a prop side total perspective. If you go to vsin.com/subscribe right now and use our promo code PRO, you can get unlimited access to everything for $199 for the next 14 months. So not just an annual subscription, you're getting that extra 2 months built in.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
The Colorado Avalanche and Vegas Golden Knights going head-to-head tonight in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. The Stanley Cup playoffs roll on. Avs -175 home favorites at Ball Arena tonight. Total sitting 6.5. If you do think the Golden Knights can get an upset win on the road to start this thing out, +145 the price. And obviously we saw that in the Western Conference on the NBA side of things with San Antonio getting it done as a dog in Game 1. But in addition to the game and all of the talk that has been surrounding this series, JVT, there's also been a lot going on off the ice. And no, I'm not just talking about injuries, but with Vegas in general and their former head coach and Bruce Cassidy. And obviously John Tortorella takes over the team with about, 8 games to go in the regular season. They've been awesome. They seem to have refound their confidence, winning games, make it all the way now to the Western Conference Final. And yet they have not given their former head coach, Bruce Cassidy, who they relieved of duties, any opportunity to interview with other teams to this point. After each series, general manager Kelly McCrimmon gets on the podium and addresses the media for various things. We saw yesterday him address not only the commentary and the issues that there were about Vegas breaking some of the media policies with the NHL. He discussed that as well as, to an extent, as well as the latest on the Bruce Cassidy situation. But let's hear Kelly McCrimmon on the podium.
We missed a great opportunity that night to connect with our fans and share with them a victory, a playoff series. I've always felt in a playoff series, when you win a series, you galvanize the bond with your fan base. We missed that opportunity by not having John available to do post-game. That's on John for failing to do that. That's on me as a general manager of the hockey club. That's not at the feet of our comms people who made other arrangements with each of you to accommodate tight quarters in and around our dressing room post-game. We have no explanation other than to say we were wrong and to assure you that it will not happen again.
So,
and we'll take no further questions.
Yeah, we did cut out that part. I will take no further questions after that, which was, I think, good that they took ownership of it. If you missed it as well, the league did come out and say afterwards that the original assessment that they're going to have $100,000 fine to John Tortorella as well as the second round pick will stand right now. Gary Bettman, who's the commissioner of the league, does have the opportunity. If he wants to change it down the line, he can. But as of now, that's where that sits.
You know who, speaking of taking accountability, I feel like Kenny Atkinson probably should have taken some more accountability.
That is a great segue. And we are very fortunate to have Christian Winfield now, who is fresh off of Knicks practice, join us here on the Progressive Guest Line, New York Knicks beat reporter for the New York Daily News.
Chris, I'm going to break in. Chris, what is there to practice after yesterday? I mean, what is this Knicks team going to do?
You can start by practicing not being down 22 with just a handful of minutes left in the fourth quarter. Listen, the Knicks pulled off one of the massive comebacks that we've seen in NBA playoff history, but they also dug themselves a hole that they don't want to find themselves in moving forward. So, they'll take the historic comeback. They'll take the 15 points in the fourth quarter from Jalen Brunson. They'll take the 2 huge threes from Mikal Bridges, a huge shot from Landry Shamet. But there's a lot to clean up so they can avoid this disaster moving forward.
Can we get into some of the details of that? Because, I was telling Stormy here earlier in the show, like one of the guys that's really happy and wiping some sweat off his brow is Mike Brown. They had a weird defensive game plan last night, leaving a lot of these shooters wide open, which is part of the reason why they got into that hole. Did you talk to Mike Brown about that? What did you think of their game plan? And will we see that again from New York?
Well, we saw a few different things playing out on both ends of the floor. Number one, the Knicks had to adjust to the way that the Cavs were going to defend them. The Cavs decided to leave Josh Hart wide open for most of the game, and also running the offense through Karl-Anthony Towns wasn't as fruitful last night as it was against the Hawks and against the 76ers, right? So they had to kind of change offenses. We saw them change offenses once in the regular season, saw them change offenses again in the first round against the Hawks. We kind of saw them go back to, hey, get the ball to Jalen Brunson and get out of the way there in the fourth quarter last night. But I think a lot of this, the Knicks knew that this was kind of going to be a feeling out process. Obviously Cleveland going to 2 different 7-game series and then coming through to try to steal game 1. The Cavs thought that they were going to have that one in the bag and they blew it, right? So the Knicks know they've got to figure some things out. But at the same time, you talk to a guy like Josh Hart, he's saying, listen, they're probably going to go with the same game plan from game 1 again, the Cavs that he's talking about, because it was successful for them up until they blew it down the stretch. So the Knicks are going to have to just try to be better across the board in game 2 because they feel like the Cavs are going to try to just do the same thing they did in game 1.
Christian Winfield of the New York Daily News joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line. For this next one, I want to set it up by just saying, I know both things can be true, but I'm curious from your vantage point, seeing things unfold live, did it feel more like it was a Cavs collapse, or were the Knicks just really digging deep to be able to come back and figure things out methodically, how they wanted to approach Cleveland? Like, how did you see it in the moment?
No, that was a textbook James Harden collapse choke job. I'm sorry, there's no other way to put it. We've seen it happen in the past with James Harden, and then we saw it again yesterday. Listen, There's no reason when you're up 22 to start playing defense on the offensive side of the ball. And then on top of that, Donovan Mitchell has 29 points entering the fourth quarter, ends the game with 29 points. So it's just a complete collapse by the Cavs stars who you put together to try to win you a title, or at least get you past get you past where you are right now. But at the same time, this is kind of what you expect almost, because listen, Donovan Mitchell hasn't been on this stage before. James Harden hasn't been on this stage since 2018. And the deeper he's gotten into the playoffs, we've seen him have collapse jobs in the past. You think about how many threes the Rockets missed in a row when they blew that game in the playoffs several years ago. This was, we've become accustomed to seeing the Knicks come back from down. The resilience has kind of been one of the main storylines of their success this season, even last season. But I think also when you look at it from a Cavs standpoint, you're up 22 with just a handful of minutes left in the fourth quarter, and you can't generate any offense after you've been generating quality offense all game long. That's more on the Cavs just falling apart down the stretch then. And you got to take your cap off to the Knicks for being able to complete the comeback. But they had a whole lot of help, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, if you're cutting up the pie, how much are you giving to Kenny Atkinson after last night? And what'd you make of his decision to leave Harden out there, allowing those switches and then sitting on the timeouts? How much are you putting this on Atkinson's shoulders?
A lot of it, just because, in press row, we're sitting there like he's really not going to call a timeout after all these buckets in a row. And, I don't know if he was trying to Phil Jackson his way through and let his guys just figure it out on the fly. That ain't work. That did not work for them yesterday, and he's got to reevaluate the strategy moving forward from that standpoint. That being said, what they did early on worked. The Cavs were able to build a 22-point lead, right? They're able to take the energy out of the building. The Garden sounded like a morgue for a long time, right, up until that fourth quarter. So I think the Cavs found some good things that they can do, but they got to find a way, because really tough blow for them to have that lead and then watch it disappear in the moment's notice.
One of the big things storyline-wise going into the game last night was the Brunson stopper, Dean Wade. What'd you make of how he matched up with Brunson in that game? And do you expect to see more of that matchup there for Cleveland as they try to find some way to stop Brunson?
I think they're going to try, but at the end of the day, Mike Brown didn't make any secret of it. They're going to attack James Harden. They're probably going to try to attack Donovan Mitchell. And listen, we watched it happen with C.J. McCollum in the first round when the Hawks were just picking on Jalen Brunson. Well, this is what it looks like to give somebody a taste of their own medicine. Look, you can't hide your bad defenders at this level. They're going to find a way to isolate them, and we saw that yesterday.
Did want to follow up as far as injuries go. I guess Mike Brown is happy that it's only him, it seems like. Is the calf okay?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Mike Brown, didn't he say he suffered a calf injury at the end of the game?
Oh, yes, he did. He took a little fall at the end of the game. He's okay. He said if he wasn't wearing a specific set of like flip-flops or slippers that he had on, it might have been an Achilles. But he's all right. I asked him. He said he's good to go for game 2.
All right, so I'll just ask you, spinning this forward to game 2, which is what are your expectations? Like, do you think a professional team like the Cavs can flush that and find some of these successes they had in game 1 and make this competitive? Or do you think this is a backbreaker for them heading back to the Garden?
I'm not sure what version of the Cavaliers we're going to see after you consider just such an emotional loss that they had in game one. So I hope that they're able to come back and put on a stronger performance. But listen, we've seen this happen before where a team goes 7 and in the first game they really try to steal home court advantage and then fail. And the Knicks have to feel like they got away with one, right? Like you were down 22 and found a way to come back. You got to feel like, all right, that was our wake-up call. Let's find a way to tidy it up. I think that was kind of the Cavs' big chance, and now they're going to get reminded just how good of a team the Knicks are in game 2. So I think if I'm the Cavs, we're looking forward to game 3 and see if they can protect home court.
Christian, thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate it. I know it's a busy day.
Yes, thank you so much for having me anytime.
Christian Winfield doing great work over there with the New York Daily News. Make sure you check out all of the work there. And New York sitting 6.5-point favorites there in game 2 against the Cavs, total 215.5. We have to step aside here on Money Moves. But when we come back, I think I see him back there. See him roaming around. Mitch Moss in the flesh going to join us coming up in studio next ahead of Follow the Money. We will find out officially what the wager will be between he and JVT on this Cavs-Knicks series, as JVT says repeatedly, sticking to your guns.
Always. Why would I not?
Okay. All right. Not sticking to the James Harden Eastern Conference Final MVP, though, maybe?
It's got like plenty of games, of course.
All right. Plenty of time left on that note. We will be right back here as we
I'm not
wrap
some
up.
coward like the rest of you folks that just change their opinion with the win.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Wrapping up this Wednesday edition of Money Moves, Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. And I'm so excited for our next guest because he really knows what I go through on a daily basis working with the guy next to me. Mitch Moss joins us here in studio, host of Follow the Money. You can catch him right after we wrap things up here, 4 to 7 Eastern every weekday. Also, Pod to the Futures, though, with Jonathan Von Tobel. How do you deal with it?
So it's 1 hour a week for me. I can't imagine being in your shoes.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Not only is it 10 hours a week, then it's like, well, he and I basically text the day of the pod, and it's like maybe a back and forth of like maybe 2 or 3 texts, and that's about it. I can't imagine like how much time you guys spend texting and talking about the show over the weekend. What are we doing on Monday? It's just got to be ad nauseum, and I don't know how you do it, Stormy, to be honest.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I really
get it.
needed that today.
Yeah.
How are you, Jonathan?
I feel great. I mean, I'm always right in these situations.
Oh,
it doesn't really matter.
Well, this is actually what I want to get to because the two of you on Pod to the Futures this week are going at it to an extent about this Knicks Cavs series. JVT, I know, was feeling good through 3 quarters last night about his stance.
May or may not have spilled onto Instagram where I was mocking Mitch Moss.
Aren't we better than this?
No. What?
We're not? Okay, because I cannot. Also, I would, if you didn't delete them already, I would pay to see your text messages to other people last night.
Oh, you want to read them? Because here's the thing:
it would just be an unbelievable hoot to me.
Because we can make fun of how annoying I am at times. I will say this: I am very proudly. I am not afraid of having an opinion. And so I will be wrong 1,000 times over. So I definitely will read some of the text messages that I sent out.
And you were definitely mocking me in the process.
Oh,
and saying I can't wait to rub it in his face.
Oh, for sure. Actually, your name came up a couple of times here.
There's no doubt.
Well, at first, because let's set it up like this, because this actually does have to do with it. Let's play the clip of Mitch, because Mitch yesterday tried to mock me on Follow the Money, even though I wasn't here to defend myself. Here's what Mitch had to say yesterday.
I don't think the Cavaliers are nearly as live as Jonathan Von Tobel does, who was hosting Money Moves before us, and I did Pod of the Futures with him last night.
Mitchell's 50-1 to lead an assist, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
He really likes the Cavaliers to win the series, and he was making a case for Harden to win the MVP, and I just laughed at him.
Oh, come on.
Like, you got to get this. You love James Harden going all the way back to his Clippers days many years ago. You can't get it out of your system. I can't get there. So I told him that we have to come up with a bet on this. Like, if they either win the series or Harden wins the MVP of the Eastern Conference Finals, like, he and I have to have some sort of significant bet.
So we have to have some sort of significant bet. My idea is just winner goes on the other's dime to like berries. What do you think?
So I was going to get really outrageous and say like loser has to shave their head.
That's fine too.
Oh my gosh, I would love to see this gigantic dome bald.
When did you? Well, I would go a 2 or like a 1. I would not go all the way bald. When you thought of this bet, was it after game 1?
No, it was honestly, it was during Pod of the Futures.
Okay.
On Monday night it was, but then I also thought to myself,
have either of you ever been bald?
I have, a couple times. Yeah.
I mean, I used to rock the 2 all the way around. For some frequency. So, and then there was one time when I was working at Starbucks where I was trimming it up without the guard, and my stepfather walked in to say something to me, and so I went, huh? And I went, zzz, and no. So I had to go 0, all over. Yeah. So that was pretty intimidating to some people at that time.
But I figured that, first of all, I kind of like what I have going on right now, and which is rare. But also, your ego is so big that the 3 of us can barely fit in this room at the same time. So I don't think that's really going to be a possibility.
Let's see. I want to get.
We should take some fan suggestions. If you guys have any ideas, you can tweet at us too.
That's a good idea. I think, but because we're both here, and we also have like exceedingly busy lives outside of this.
Sure.
Like, I think doing something at Circa would probably make the most sense, and maybe like a Barry's thing, or maybe even like a cabana where we invite more people from the network, and maybe we get some viewers involved. But
I will attend. I'll invite myself.
I also don't know how much we want to run it up on the other person here. Yeah, I know, because that can get it's going to get pretty healthy, I think, out there.
All right, this is my favorite one that I sent yesterday. This is at 7:24. I think this was literally moments before the 44-11 run started. I texted Matt and Tim while they were on the air. Someone check on Paul Bovey, belt to ass. That was pretty good. Let's see. I texted Zach and Kelly this wonderful GIF of a Cavaliers fan throwing up the threes in the middle of a game. But I also said, let's see, Brunson stinks on defense. Mitch was mocking me. I need more clips from him on Follow the Money so I can replay them. I may or may not on Instagram commented on the clip of me and you saying something along the lines of somebody got to check on Mitch Moss, probably not feeling too good.
Right. And that was when obviously fourth quarter when it was they were dead and buried.
to which I think Mitch Moss tweeted, oops, responded to me right afterwards.
Well, because I did. Like when you said the James Harden angle on Pod of the Future, I was like, JBT, please, you got enough already with the guy.
Sure.
And
you were genuinely shocked. I was listening to it this morning. The argument that as soon as JVT brought it up, you're like, no.
A little bit, but also I know like this is for JVT. We all have like that one person in our lives that, like I don't know, that sporting event, whatever it is, an athlete that we just are always going to have the back of. Like I was making my guy in the future could be like a Reed Shepherd type. Like I was the president of his fan club this year. At some point, if he plays like that, I'm going to have to dial back and say he's not as good as I thought he was going to be. But this has been a thing for JVT for as long as I think I've known the guy with James Harden. And you must be feeling pretty good about the Cavs series after the game last night, truth being told, despite blowing a 22-point lead. I would actually as someone who was so strong in the Knicks going into it, if you told me right now that Harden's actually going to get his minutes cut significantly, I would be worried about the Knicks because their comeback was based on one thing, and that was seeking him out. It was like Seek and Destroy from Metallica last night. Yep. It was going to be Brunson hunting him the entire time, and there's nothing. And Atkinson was also just, oh my God, that's an all-time clunker out of him.
At 7:23, I tweeted Dave Ross, "Go to bed, Dave. Game 1 is over."
You know how many people I had tell me that last night?
Let's see.
Paulie said he rented a movie during the game. A guy, Jason, who I play Survivor with out here, he lives in New York. He's a lifelong Knicks fan. He said he got in the pool last night, stopped watching the game, came back in, and he's like, what happened? Are you serious?
Can I follow up really quickly? So 7:23, I tell Dave Ross, go to bed, game 1 is over. 7:42, I tweet him again, Dave, wake up.
So you'll love this because when we do the Sunday NFL show during the games and everything, I get caught all the time in saying, oh, this one's over. Let's move on to the next one.
Famously, the Texans-Jags, that comeback.
Oh, wow, yeah. Davis Mills?
Davis Mills. She immediately is like, well, this game's over. Like, it's a 10-point game.
Right. We get it, JVT. I set it up. Okay?
Mine at least had a win probability of 99.9%.
But so you'll be proud of me last night. Yes, the win probability for the Knicks is 0.1 according to ESPN, right in their chart. Last night, my husband goes, can we just turn this off? I'm like, I'm over it. Can we put on a movie or something? And I said, I don't know. It's a long fourth quarter. I got to talk about this tomorrow. Let's leave it on.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Good for you.
I felt I was like, I told you it's a long fourth quarter. Right. Let's go.
It's very easy to do. Like I turned off Game 7, Cavs Pistons right away.
Yeah.
Sure.
This game sucks.
Yeah, I gave that until like the second quarter. But to your point, when Donovan Mitchell hit that 3 at the end of the first quarter against Detroit, I was like, oh, it's one of those.
Oh,
yeah. I think we're going to be done here. But I will say, again, I stick to my guns. Okay. As I willingly will admit all of these things. Somebody tried to get me this morning and say, didn't you make comments about the game being over last night before it was? To which I responded, I did.
Yeah.
That's what I do, buddy.
We did get a couple suggestions, by the way.
Oh, I don't like
this one already isn't going to be. At NJD107 says, Mitch wins. JVT has to get an I Love New York City tattoo.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Hysterical. And Mark Hoppel said, loser has to work a double shift. The other has to work the other person's show for the day. So just a couple.
I don't think our audience would enjoy that one.
I see also, Mitch, today you've got the Vegas Golden Knights quarter zip on. Any strong opinions about tonight, game 1 against Colorado?
Man, I'm coming around a little bit more to, for months now, I've been like, Colorado's a machine. They're coming out of the West, put them in cross-sport parlays, all of that kind of jazz. I'm still kind of there with it, but now the injuries, the Makar injury can absolutely be huge. I mean, if he's not the best defenseman in the entire league, he's obviously in the mix for that every single year. The Stone, I don't think he's not playing tonight, but does he come back sooner than we thought, the way it looks right now? So they just have a couple of things going for him. entering game one, that they might be a little bit more live than I originally anticipated.
Yeah.
We did a whole segment earlier today basically talking about how Vegas can compete with Colorado, to which I then also ended saying I still have the Avs in 6.
Yeah.
But I think it's a longer series than at least on the surface people have given them credit for. And I mean, you got a stacked guest list today on Follow the Money. Eddie O among the group today, I believe.
Yeah. Now, he's going to be on the Eastern Conference, but he'll talk and he'll have opinions on all of it for sure. He's coming up at 4:30 Eastern time. I also like the angle here to me is if you like the Golden Knights, not to bet them. I'm sure you guys have probably touched on this as well. Not to bet them to win the cup. I would rather take a price on Marner for the Conn Smythe.
Oh, yeah. We've been talking about it for 2 weeks.
Yeah, there you go. And then back it up a little bit with even Carter Hart, because we've had guests tell us this, and I completely second this notion. I think if the Knights win this series, games are going to have to be like 3-2. Are they going to win? Are they going to win 4 games if they're like 6-4, 7? I just can't see them doing that.
It's hard for goalies to win Conn Smythe.
Yes.
That's part of it in my mind that steers me away.
Might be great in the win, but bad in the losses. Yeah.
And because it's the full Stanley Cup playoffs, it's not just what happens in the final. He's had some clunkers, and I could see him possibly having a couple against Colorado too that I don't know if I would want to go there. I understand the rationale at the number that it is compared to like a Freddie Anderson for the Canes, who's super short.
So basically, just stick to Marner.
I think so. That's just where I sit on it, but we'll see. Only time will tell. That's a wrap for us, but Mitch is sticking around in this spot. Follow the Money coming up next with Paulie Howard.
Cavs still win.
Much more chat.